Hey guys, Useless here, and 2020 was awful. Obviously, there was a worldwide pandemic, economic suffering, we were all cooped up in our homes, but even more devastatingly, a bunch of comic book movies were delayed. We were supposed to get The King's Man, Black Widow, Morbius, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and The Eternals. But they had to be delayed due to COVID and people not being able to go to movie theaters. We still did get 5 other movies though, and I wanted to talk about them. I'm also going to be ranking them in order from worst to best because I'm not a coward. If you disagree, just remember that I am correct. Objectively. Let's begin. At number 5, I have Wonder Woman 1984. If you had told me before December 25th that Wonder Woman was going to be at the bottom of my list, I would have called you a silly person and told you to get out of my face, especially considering some of the other movies on this list. But what can I say? I just simply enjoyed this movie the least. I think the biggest thing for me is the tone. It has this Donner Superman camp to it that just doesn't work in 2020, now 2021. Another problem for me is Gal Gadot. She just isn't a very good actress. For the most part, she's fine, but there were key emotional scenes where she dropped the ball. The movie was also way too long. It didn't need to be 2 hours and 35 minutes. There were also some problematic things in the movie. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, I guess. So Steve Trevor comes back, and when he comes back, he takes over some guy's body, and then Wonder Woman essentially rapes that guy because Steve Trevor takes over his body and she has sex with him, but it's in the body of the random guy and he's not consenting to it, and it's just really weird and rapey. They also portray a woman beating her sexual assaulter as her descending into villainy, and it's just weird. Like, she's totally justified in her actions there. Like, he was about to try to rape her, but they like play like spooky ominous music as she's doing it when like she's completely justified. But yeah, no, it's those two things are just really weird, especially when you're watching it. But aside from that, it's just a poorly written and directed movie. I'm surprised that Patty Jenkins made something this amateur. But I don't want to beat up on it too much. I feel like the internet's been doing that enough for the past couple of weeks. It's not good. At number 4, I have Bloodshot. Now, I'm not going to say that Bloodshot is necessarily better than Wonder Woman 1984. I'm just saying that I enjoyed watching it more. It's shorter, so that's a plus. And also, Vin Diesel is in the lead role. You see, unlike Gal Gadot, Vin Diesel is an actor who can really elevate the material that he has to work with. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not a good actor, but he just has this inherently goofy screen presence that makes pretty much anything he's in entertaining to watch. Like, Bloodshot isn't anything to write home about. The movie is about a soldier who like dies and then is brought back to life because they put nanobots in his blood. It's kind of a weird premise, but anyways, these nanobots give him basically super strength and like Wolverine-esque healing abilities. And even though that premise could be good in a better movie, unfortunately the story and characters just kind of end up feeling kind of generic. But again, Vin Diesel just being Vin Diesel in the leading role makes the movie enjoyable, in my opinion. Like, if they had gotten like generic white guy action hero to be in the leading role, I probably like this would probably be at the bottom of the list, but because it's Vin Diesel, it ever so slightly edges out Wonder Woman 1984. The action was also just ridiculous enough to be enjoyable. Seeing CGI Vin Diesel fight CGI generic henchmen as they fall through the air it's just funny. At number 3, I have Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. I thought the movie was fun even if it was a little messy. The movie looks really nice and stylish and the action is great. Where it falters, however, is in its characters. An ensemble movie like this needs characters that you fall in love with and have great chemistry with each other. The problem here is that they just don't do much with the Birds of Prey. It's really a Harley Quinn movie first and foremost. I get that Harley Quinn is the more popular character, but she completely overshadows the movie to a detrimental effect. And Harley being the main character is a mistake because she's honestly just too crazy to really connect with. I really think they should have focused a bit more on the rest of the characters just so that you can ground the movie a bit and have, actual characters that an audience can connect with. But I mean, I don't know. I still had fun with it. I just thought the characterizations could have been better. At number 2, I have The New Mutants. I remember thinking that X-Men Dark Phoenix was a pretty good send-off for the Fox X-Men universe, completely forgetting that The New Mutants hadn't come out yet. Well, it came out in 2020, and it's a pretty good send-off for the Fox X-Men universe. It's about a group of mutants who are being held in a facility where a doctor is trying to help them figure out their powers. It kind of feels like The Breakfast Club if The Breakfast Club was in an insane asylum, and I was pleasantly surprised watching it. I actually liked all the characters and the dynamics between them. There were some moments where I was just kind of confused as to why certain characters were doing things that I felt like just kind of contradicted with what was set up before, but overall, I really liked this group. I think the relationship between Danielle and Rain are by far the best thing in the movie. They were actually really cute together. The movie's not perfect though. The third act is pretty rough. They fight a giant bear and it's just weird. At no point did I ever really understand what their powers were and just how they were defined. And the movie never really goes out of its way to explain it to you. It was very confusing, and the fact that it ends with a big CGI fight was kind of disappointing. Most of this movie is really low-key and actually feels pretty unique for a movie in the comic book genre, but then it's just, hey, here's a giant CGI bear because the movie has to end in a giant CGI fight. And another thing, the movie's not scary. At all. This was supposed to be the first comic book horror movie, but it's really just a teen drama with some slightly creepy scenes, I guess, if you say so. That being said, I enjoyed it. It's completely inoffensive. If you haven't seen it yet, I recommend giving it a shot. Alright, here we go. It's the #1 comic book movie of 2020. Did you even know it was a comic book movie? I didn't until a few days ago, and it barely got on this list. The movie is The Old Guard. If you haven't heard of it, it's a movie about a group of immortal beings who not only live forever, but also have these Wolverine-esque healing abilities, much like the critically acclaimed film Bloodshot, starring Oscar award-winning actor Vin Diesel. Now, I don't want to go too much into it, just because of all the movies on this list, I think this is the one you should check out the most. But yeah, I thought this was a genuinely great movie. It has great action, and if you sort of see a trailer for it, you're probably going to think that it's just going to be kind of a generic action movie, but it actually tells a pretty substantial story. The movie deals with immortality and ponders on what that would actually be like. The characters are really fleshed out and you actually care about them. The movie spends a surprising amount of time with them just talking and basically spouting exposition about their lives. In a worse movie, that would be really annoying, but it actually works here. And by the way, I can only hope to find love one day as strong as the couple in this movie. But the action is also fantastic. The choreography is excellent, and even though the characters are immortal and have that Wolverine-esque healing factor, they still found a way to make it feel tense and have high stakes, because of reasons that I don't want to spoil. So yeah, those were the comic book movies of 2020. Not a particularly great year for comic book movies, but it wasn't a particularly good year in general, so Hollywood, I will give you a pass. But let us not dwell on the past, let us look into the future next week. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about all of the comic book movies that will be released this year. Well, they could be delayed again. Next week, I'm going to be talking about every comic book movie that will hypothetically be released this year. Okay, now I know I told you not to dwell on the past, but dwell on the past a little bit more because I want you to comment down below what your personal rankings were. But after you do that, no more dwelling. Also, subscribe, like the video, ring the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video every Monday at 12 o'clock. Bye.